Minyu stared at the red warning lights flashing across his control panel. The cargo hauler groaned and shook as it dropped out of hyperspace. Something had gone terribly wrong. He gripped the controls and tried to keep the ship steady. Come on, he muttered, pushing buttons and checking systems. The navigation computer showed nothing but static. The communication array was completely fried. Outside the windows, he saw stars he didn't recognize. This wasn't the route to the mining colony. This wasn't anywhere near human space. He was lost. Minyu took a deep breath and forced himself to stay calm. Panic wouldn't help. He had been a cargo pilot for 8 years. He knew his ship, the Wandering Star, better than anyone. If he could just figure out where he was, he could find his way home. But as hours turned into days, the situation became clear. He was 47 light-years from the nearest human settlement. His fuel was running low. His food supplies would last maybe 3 weeks, and nobody knew where he was. On the 5th day, his scanner picked up something, a massive structure orbiting a dead planet. It was enormous, bigger than any space station he had ever seen. The metal hull was dark and covered in strange symbols. It looked ancient. Minyu had no choice. He needed supplies. He needed parts to fix his ship. This station was his only chance. He guided the Wandering Star toward the structure. As he got closer, he could see how truly massive it was. The docking bay alone could fit 20 ships his size. The symbols on the hull glowed faintly, like they were reacting to his presence. The docking process was smooth, almost too smooth. It was like the station expected him. Minyu put on his environment suit and grabbed his tool kit. He checked his pistol, making sure it was loaded. Then he opened the airlock. The station's interior was dark except for dim emergency lights along the floor. The air was breathable, which was strange. Minyu walked carefully through the corridors. Everything was built large, designed for beings bigger than humans. The walls were covered in more of those strange symbols. "Hello," he called out. His voice echoed in the empty halls. No response. He found what looked like a control room. Screens and displays covered the walls, all dark. In the center was a large console. Minyu approached it carefully and touched one of the panels. Suddenly, lights blazed to life. The screens lit up with symbols and images, and then a voice spoke, deep and mechanical. "Identity unknown. Species unknown. State your purpose." Minyu jumped back, his hand going to his pistol. "Who's there?" "I am Keeper 7, caretaker of this installation. You are not. What are you?" "Human," Minyu said. "My name is Minyu. My ship was damaged. I need help." There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again, and Minyu could swear it sounded curious. "Human. The database has no record of this species. You are small, weak. How did you reach this station?" "My ship had an accident. Please, I just need some supplies and repair materials. Then I'll leave." "This is a military installation of the Empire," Keeper 7 said. "They were the apex predators of this galaxy, warriors without equal. They vanished 3,000 years ago. I have maintained this station, waiting for their return. And now, a soft, weak creature comes asking for help." Minyu felt his frustration rising. "I'm not weak. I'm just lost and alone. If you won't help me, just tell me so I can search elsewhere." "Your ship's power cells are depleted," Keeper 7 said. "You have no fuel for long-range travel. You will die within 2 weeks. There is nowhere else." Minyu's heart sank. The AI was right. "However," Keeper 7 continued, "I am curious about your species. The belief that strength must be proven. If you can survive their training grounds, I will help you. If you fail, you will die, and I will know that humans are not worthy of notice." "Training grounds?" Minyu asked. "They train their warriors here. The simulations are designed to forge the strongest fighters in the galaxy. Most candidates died in training. You, a soft human, will certainly fail, but I am curious to see how long you last." Minyu wanted to refuse. This was insane. But what choice did he have? Without power cells, his ship was useless. Without the AI's help, he was dead. If I survive this training, you'll give me what I need. Yes, and perhaps I will learn something about humans. Perhaps you will surprise me, though I doubt it. Fine, Minyu said. Show me these training grounds. Keeper 7 guided him deeper into the station. They entered a massive chamber that looked empty at first, but when Minyu stepped onto the floor, everything changed. The walls came alive with light. The air shimmered. Suddenly, he was standing in a dense forest. This is the first trial, Keeper 7 said. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Survive for 1 hour, hunt or be hunted. Before Minyu could ask what he was supposed to hunt, he heard a growl behind him. He spun around and saw a creature that looked like a mix between a wolf and a lizard. It was huge, with claws like knives and teeth like daggers, and it was staring right at him. Minyu ran. The creature chased him through the holographic forest. Minyu could feel his heart pounding. This wasn't real, but it felt real. If those claws caught him, would they kill him? He didn't want to find out. He dodged behind trees, jumped over logs, and tried to find somewhere to hide. But the creature was faster. It was stronger. It was everything he wasn't. Minyu's foot caught on a root and he fell hard. The creature leaped toward him. In that moment, Minyu grabbed a sharp rock from the ground and threw it at the creature's face. The rock hit its eye, and the creature howled in pain. Minyu scrambled to his feet and kept running. He grabbed a fallen branch, thick and heavy. When the creature came at him again, he swung the branch with all his strength. It connected with the creature's skull. The creature stumbled. Minyu didn't wait. He ran until the forest disappeared. He found himself back in the empty chamber, breathing hard and covered in sweat. 32 minutes, Keeper 7 said. You failed to survive the full hour. You failed to kill the predator. You ran like prey, pathetic. Minyu bent over, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. I'm still alive, he gasped. Barely, and only because you fled. They would be ashamed of such cowardice. Minyu straightened up and glared at the ceiling where he thought the AI might be watching. They aren't here. I am, and I'll do this your way, but I will survive. I will get home. We shall see, human, we shall see. As Minyu left the training chamber, his legs shaking and his mind racing, he realized something. He wasn't going home anytime soon. If he wanted to survive, he would have to become something he never thought possible. He would have to become a hunter. The first week was hell. Minyu failed every simulation. He was too slow, too weak, too human. The holographic creatures killed him again and again. Each time, the simulation stopped just before the final blow, but Minyu felt every wound, every broken bone, every moment of terror. Keeper 7 watched and mocked him constantly. You are prey, not a predator. Perhaps I should let you die and wait for a real species to find this station. But Minyu kept going. Every morning, he woke up sore and exhausted. Every morning, he went back to the training chamber. And every time he failed, he learned something new. He learned that he couldn't fight like they were bigger and stronger. Their simulations were designed for warriors with natural weapons and enhanced bodies. Minyu had none of that. He was just a human with average strength and no combat training. So he stopped trying to fight like them. In the second week, something changed. Minyu entered a simulation of a rocky canyon. A pack of hunters was tracking him. Instead of running or fighting, he climbed up the canyon wall and waited. When the hunters passed below, he pushed a boulder down on them. 3 died instantly. The others scattered in confusion. Minyu picked them off one by one, using rocks and surprise attacks. He survived for 2 hours that day. Keeper 7 was silent for a long time after that simulation ended. Then the AI said, "That was not how I would fight." "I'm not," Minyu replied, breathing hard. "I'm human, and humans fight smart, not strong." "Interesting," Keeper 7 said, and Minyu heard something new in the AI's voice. Curiosity. The training continued. Minyu learned to use the environment as his weapon. He set traps. He used ambush tactics. He studied the behavior of each simulated predator and found their weaknesses. If something was fast, he made it come to him through narrow spaces where speed didn't matter. If something was strong, he struck from above or behind. He stopped running away and started hunting. The days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months. Minyu's body changed. He lost the extra weight he had carried. His muscles became lean and efficient. His reflexes sharpened. His mind adapted to think 3 steps ahead, always planning, always analyzing. But more than his body, his mind transformed. He learned to stay calm under pressure. He learned to read patterns and predict movements. He learned that patience was more powerful than speed, and strategy was more deadly than strength. Keeper 7 gave him access to the station's medical bay. The technology healed his injuries faster than human medicine ever could. It analyzed his body and helped him recover between training sessions. Slowly, grudgingly, the AI began to help him more. "Why are you helping me now?" Minyu asked one day while the medical systems repaired a broken rib. "You are not," Keeper 7 said, "but you have begun to understand what it means to hunt, the respected adaptation. They believed that survival was the highest form of strength. You adapt, therefore you deserve to learn." On the 100th day, Keeper 7 presented Minyu with a new simulation. "This will be your final test," the AI said. "If you succeed, you will have proven yourself worthy of the legacy." The simulation loaded. Minyu found himself in an urban environment, buildings and streets like a city. And then he saw his enemies. They were soldiers, humanoid but with features he didn't recognize. They wore advanced armor and carried energy weapons. "These are warriors," Keeper 7 explained. "They currently dominate your galaxy. They are trained, disciplined, and ruthless. There are 12 of them. They are hunting you. Survive for 3 hours and you pass. Kill them all and you honor The simulation began. Minyu moved through the city like a shadow. He had learned to control his breathing, to move without sound, to use every sense. The soldiers moved in formation, professional and coordinated. They were good at what they did. But they had never fought someone like Minyu. He struck from the shadows, taking out the first soldier with a piece of metal pipe to the back of the head. He took the soldier's weapon and disappeared before the others could react. They called out to each other in their language, confused and alert. Minyu climbed to a rooftop and watched them regroup. They were searching the ground level, expecting a direct confrontation. He smiled grimly. That was their mistake. He waited for one soldier to separate from the group just a little. Then he dropped from above, silent as death, 2 soldiers down. They realized they were being hunted. They panicked, breaking formation. That was what Minyu wanted. A coordinated enemy was dangerous. A scared enemy made mistakes. He picked them off one by one, using the city's maze of buildings and alleys. He set traps using debris and broken equipment. He used their own weapons against them. And most importantly, he stayed calm. He stayed focused. He stayed one step ahead. When the last soldier fell, Minyu stood in the center of the simulated city, breathing heavily but victorious. The simulation faded, and he was back in the training chamber. Keeper 7 was silent for a full minute. Then the AI spoke, and for the first time, there was respect in that mechanical voice. "You fought with precision, with strategy, with patience. You turned every disadvantage into an advantage. You hunted warriors who believed themselves superior, and you proved them wrong." The AI paused. "They would have been proud. You have earned your place, human. You have earned their legacy." The chamber doors opened, revealing a new section of the station Minyu had never seen. It was the armory. Inside were weapons and equipment beyond anything Minyu had imagined. Keeper 7 guided him to a suit of armor that seemed to shimmer and change as he approached it. "This is adaptive armor," the AI explained. It responds to your thoughts, protects you, and enhances your natural abilities. It is yours now. Minyu put on the armor. It felt light but strong, like a second skin. Next, Keeper 7 showed him a weapon. This plasma rifle was designed for warriors. It will adjust to your grip and fighting style. Use it well. But the greatest gift was a data chip that Keeper 7 placed in his hand. This contains the Hunter's Codex, every known species in the galaxy, their biology, psychology, weaknesses, and strengths. Knowledge is the Hunter's greatest weapon. Use it wisely. Minyu held the chip carefully. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Do not thank me yet," Keeper 7 replied. "You have become a hunter, but the galaxy is full of predators who believe they are at the top. Your species, humanity, is currently being hunted. I have intercepted communications while you trained. Your colonies are under attack. The Empire has decided humans are unworthy of existence." Minyu felt cold fear grip his heart. "What? Your people are dying while you stand here. The question is, human, what will you do about it?" Minyu looked at the armor on his body, the weapon in his hands, and the data chip containing centuries of knowledge. He thought of every human colony, every family, everyone who was facing the same fate he had been running from. "I'm going to hunt," he said quietly, "and they are about to learn what happens when they underestimate humanity." The wandering star moved through space faster than it ever had before. Keeper 7 had upgraded the ship's engines with technology. What would have taken weeks now took days. Minyu sat in the pilot's seat, watching the star maps and monitoring distress signals. There were too many. Human colonies were crying for help across multiple systems. The Empire wasn't just attacking military targets. They were destroying civilian settlements, farms, research stations. Anywhere humans lived, they came to erase them. Minyu's jaw tightened. He had to choose which colony to help first. He couldn't save everyone. The thought made him sick. Then he saw it. New Haven Colony. 4,000 people trapped on the surface while 3 warships circled overhead like vultures. According to the distress signal, they had maybe 12 hours before they finished destroying their defense shields. Minyu set his course for New Haven. When he arrived at the system, he stayed far enough away that the ships wouldn't detect him immediately. The stealth technology made his small cargo hauler almost invisible to their sensors. He studied the 3 warships carefully. They were massive, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. Their shields were strong. Their weapons were advanced. A direct fight would be suicide. Good thing Minyu wasn't planning a direct fight. He analyzed the ships using the Codex. They were proud warriors, but they were also arrogant. They believed in their superiority so completely that they never expected real resistance from lesser species. Their guard would be down. They wouldn't see him coming. Minyu targeted the smallest of the 3 warships. He approached slowly, using the debris field from destroyed human satellites as cover. The armor he wore had built-in magnetic boots and a personal shield. He could survive in space without a traditional suit. When he was close enough, he launched himself from his ship toward the warship. He landed on the hull with barely a sound and made his way to a maintenance hatch. The Codex told him exactly where to find it. Inside the ship, Minyu moved like a ghost. The crew was large, over 200 soldiers and support staff, but the ship was huge and they weren't expecting an intruder. Minyu stayed in the shadows, using vents and maintenance corridors to move unseen. He found the ship's main reactor control room. 2 guards stood at the door, tall reptilian beings with scaled skin and sharp teeth. They were talking to each other, relaxed and bored. Minyu studied them for a moment, then he moved. The first guard never saw him. Minyu's plasma rifle fired once, a silent shot that dropped the instantly. The second guard turned, reaching for an alarm, but Minyu was already there. His knife, made from metal, slid between the armor plates and found his heart. Both guards down in less than 3 seconds. Minyu accessed the reactor controls. He didn't destroy it. That would kill everyone on the ship, and despite his anger, Minyu wasn't a murderer. Instead, he set the reactor to overload slowly. The ship would have to shut down all weapons and shields to prevent a catastrophic explosion. Then he hacked into their communication system, and he started talking. "Warship, this is the human you've been hunting." Minyu's voice, calm and steady, broadcast through every speaker on the ship. "I'm currently inside your vessel. I've just disabled your reactor. In approximately 10 minutes, you'll have to choose between losing all power or exploding. I recommend choosing the first option." Chaos erupted on the ship. Alarms blared. Soldiers ran through the corridors searching for him, but Minyu was already gone, moving to his next target. He found the weapons control center and planted explosives on the main computers. Then he moved to the shield generators and did the same. By the time they figured out where he had been, he was somewhere else. "You're probably wondering how a primitive human managed to board your advanced warship," Minyu continued broadcasting. "You're probably confused. Let me explain something to you. You believe you're predators. You believe you're at the top of the food chain, but you've never met a real hunter before." The explosives detonated. The ship's weapons went offline. The shields collapsed. The warship was now defenseless, floating in space like a dead whale. Minyu made his way back to the maintenance hatch. Before he left, he sent one final message. "Tell your commanders that humans remember. We remember every colony you've destroyed, every life you've taken, and we're coming for you, not with armies, not with fleets, but with something you can't predict or defend against. We're coming with hunters." He launched himself back into space and returned to his ship. The other two warships saw what happened to their sister ship. They saw it go dark, defenseless and drifting. They didn't know how it happened or who did it. The fear of an unknown enemy was more powerful than any weapon. They retreated. Both ships jumped to hyperspace, abandoning New Haven. The colony was saved. Minyu landed on New Haven to resupply. The colonists treated him like a hero, but he didn't feel like one. He had saved 4,000 people, but millions more were still in danger. In a quiet moment, he accessed the colony's communication network. He searched for any information about research stations that had been destroyed. There were dozens, but one name caught his attention. Station Meridian, destroyed 3 weeks ago, all personnel listed as killed or missing. Minyu's hands shook as he read the personnel list. There, halfway down, was a name that made his heart stop. His sister. She was listed as missing, presumed dead. But Minyu knew the Codex had taught him about their culture. They didn't kill everyone. They took prisoners, especially scientists and engineers. They used them as slaves in their mining operations. If was alive, she would be on Prime, this largest mining colony. Minyu stood up and walked back to his ship. The colonists called out to him, asking where he was going, but he didn't answer. He had a new mission now. He was going to Prime. He was going to find his sister, and if they stood in his way, they would learn what it truly meant to be hunted. As the wandering star lifted off from New Haven, Minyu activated his communication system. He sent a message to every human colony he could reach. "This is Minyu. I'm the one who saved New Haven. They think we're weak. They think we're prey, but they're wrong. I've learned to hunt, and I'm going to teach others. Humanity will not go quietly into the dark. We will fight, we will survive, and we will make them regret ever threatening us." The message spread through human space like wildfire. In bars and homes and military bases, people heard it. Some called him crazy, some called him a hero, but everyone remembered the name. Minyu the Hunter. And in the shadows of the galaxy, the Empire began to realize they had made a terrible mistake. They had pushed humanity too far, and now they would pay the price. Prime was a world of dust and despair. From orbit, Minyu could see the massive mining operations that the planet's surface. Thousands of enslaved beings worked in those mines, digging up rare crystals that powered ships. The planet was surrounded by defense platforms and patrol ships. Getting in would be almost impossible, which is why Minyu planned to get captured. He disabled his ship's stealth systems and flew directly toward a patrol. They detected him immediately. Within minutes, 3 fighters surrounded his ship, weapons locked on target. "Unknown vessel, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded," the commander ordered. Minyu raised his hands and he had hidden the armor in special compartments built into his body. The technology was so advanced that scanners couldn't detect it. He would look like an ordinary human. The soldiers boarded his ship with weapons drawn. When they saw Minyu sitting calmly in the pilot's seat, they laughed. "A human," one of them said. "The species we're exterminating. You've come to die more quickly." "I got lost," Minyu said, keeping his voice weak and scared. "I was trying to escape. Please don't hurt me." The commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The commanders will want to see this. A human delivered right to us. You'll be a nice example for the other slaves." They dragged Minyu off his ship and transported him to Prime. He studied everything during the flight: guard rotations, security protocols, weak points in their defenses. The thought he was terrified. They didn't see him analyzing and planning. On Prime, they threw him into the slave pens. The conditions were horrific. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species, all trapped in cages barely large enough to stand. The air smelled of sweat, fear, and despair. Guards walked the perimeter with shock weapons, ready to punish anyone who resisted. Minyu scanned the faces around him, looking for humans. He found a group in one corner, dirty and exhausted. And there, among them, he saw her. Yep. She was alive, thinner than he remembered, with bruises on her arms and face, but alive. Minyu's heart nearly burst with relief and rage. He made his way through the crowd toward her. When he got close, she looked up at him with dead eyes. She didn't recognize him. Months of training and hardship had changed his appearance completely. He whispered, "It's me, Minyu." Her eyes went wide. "Minyu, no, that's impossible. You're supposed to be. How did you?" "I came to get you out," he said quietly. "All of you." Another human nearby laughed bitterly. "Get us out. Look around. There are 5,000 soldiers on this planet, defense platforms in orbit. We're slaves. We're going to die here." Minyu looked at the man. He was young, maybe 30, with the calloused hands of an engineer. "What's your name?" "I've been here 2 years, long enough to know there's no escape." "There's always an escape," Minyu said. "You just need the right plan and the right people." Over the next few days, Minyu observed everything. He watched the guards, learned their routines, identified the weak points. He also talked to other slaves, not just humans but members of other species too. He spoke to them in their own languages, knowledge from the codex. He learned their strengths and their skills. And he found allies. One was a guard who had grown disgusted with her people's cruelty. She secretly gave extra food to slaves and looked the other way when they rested instead of working. When Minyu approached her in private, she was shocked that a human knew language. "Why do you serve them if you hate what they do?" Minyu asked her. "What choice do I have?" replied. "If I rebel, they'll kill me." "What if you weren't alone?" Minyu said. "What if hundreds of us stood together?" Stared at him. "That's suicide." "Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way to survive with honor." Slowly, carefully, Minyu built his network. He taught select slaves basic combat tactics. He showed them how to turn mining tools into weapons. He gave them something they had lost: hope. But he needed a spark, something to turn hope into action. That spark came on a cold morning in the mines. A slave, a small alien with blue skin, collapsed from exhaustion. The overseer walked over and kicked the fallen slave. When the slave couldn't get up, the overseer raised his shock weapon. "Get up or I'll kill you as an example," the overseer snarled. The slave tried to stand but collapsed again. The overseer smiled and raised his weapon higher. Minyu stepped forward. "Stop." The overseer turned to him. "What did you say, human?" "I said stop. You've already won. You've already broken him. Killing him proves nothing." The overseer laughed. "I'll kill whoever I want, including you." He pointed the shock weapon at Minyu. Minyu moved faster than the could track. His hand shot out and grabbed the weapon, twisting it away. His other hand struck the overseer's throat. The fell, gasping for air. Every slave in the mine stopped working. Every guard turned to look. For a moment, everything was silent. Then Minyu activated his hidden armor. It materialized around his body in seconds, gleaming and powerful. He raised the overseer's weapon and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I am Minyu, the hunter. They have taken everything from you, your homes, your freedom, your dignity, but they can't take your will to fight, not unless you give it to them. Today we stop being prey. Today we become predators." He fired the weapon at the guard station, destroying it in a flash of energy. "Who's with me?" For a heartbeat, nobody moved, then stepped forward. Then dozens more, then hundreds. The rebellion exploded across Prime like a wildfire. Slaves overwhelmed guards with sheer numbers. Minyu led them with precision, using tactics he had learned from months of training. They had weapons and armor, but the slaves had desperation and rage. Minyu was everywhere at once. He disabled defense systems. He freed other slave pens. He taught people how to fight smart instead of strong. The garrison, used to easy control over broken prisoners, panicked when faced with organized resistance. The communications center fell first, then the weapons depot, then the spaceport. In the command center, the commander watched in horror as his perfect prison world collapsed into chaos. He sent a desperate message to the fleet. "Prime is under attack. Send reinforcements immediately." But before help could arrive, Minyu reached the command center. The commander faced him with a weapon drawn. "You're just one human," the commander hissed. "You can't." Minyu shot him before he finished speaking. "I'm not just one human. I'm the beginning of something you should have feared all along." By nightfall, Prime belonged to the freed slaves. 6 transport ships sat ready at the spaceport. Minyu stood at the loading ramp as 300 former slaves boarded, including and approached him. "What now?" "Now we take the fight to them," Minyu said. "We show the galaxy that humanity won't be erased. We show them that when you hunt us, we hunt back." As the ships lifted off, Minyu sent one final broadcast to the Empire. "You wanted to make examples of us. Instead, we've made an example of you. This is only the beginning. Remember the name Prime. Remember what happened when you underestimated us. And know that every time you threaten humanity, we will be there, watching, waiting, hunting." The message ended, and the ships jumped into hyperspace, carrying the freed slaves toward safety. Behind them, Prime burned. The news of Prime's liberation spread through the galaxy like lightning. In human colonies, people celebrated in the streets. In alien worlds, species that had been oppressed by the whispered with new hope. And in the halls of the Empire, the commanders raged. The Empress herself called for Minyu's head. She assembled the Crimson Talons, the most elite warriors. 50 of the deadliest fighters in the Empire, led by Commander, a veteran of 100 battles. They had never failed a mission. They had never lost a fight. Their orders were simple. Find Minyu and make an example of him that would terrify all who dared resist. Minyu knew they were coming, had intercepted communications and warned him. The freed slaves had scattered to safe locations, hidden by allies across the galaxy. Was safe on a remote human colony, working with doctors to heal former slaves. Was helping coordinate resistance cells among others who wanted change. But Minyu didn't run. He chose his carefully. The Theta 9 asteroid field, a massive cluster of rocks and ice floating in dead space. Thousands of hiding places. thousands of ways to turn the environment into a weapon. He sent a message on all channels. "Commander, this is Minyu. I'm in the Theta 9 system. Come find me, let's finish this." The Crimson Talons arrived in force. 5 warships carrying the 50 elite warriors. They spread out through the asteroid field, scanning for Minyu's ship. Stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching the displays with cold eyes. "He's here somewhere," she said to her second-in-command. "One human, hiding like a coward. We'll find him and teach the galaxy what happens to those who challenge us." But Minyu wasn't hiding, he was hunting. He had spent 3 days preparing the battlefield. He planted explosives on key asteroids. He set up false signals to confuse their scanners. He studied their tactics through stolen communications. By the time they arrived, he knew exactly how they would move. The first warship entered a dense cluster of asteroids. Minyu detonated the explosives. The asteroids shattered, sending massive chunks of rock slamming into the ship's hull. The shields held, but the ship was forced to retreat for repairs. "Clever," muttered, "but tricks won't save you, human." She sent small fighter squadrons into the field to flush Minyu out. 20 fighters spread through the asteroids, searching with advanced sensors. Minyu let them come close. Then he activated drones he had built from salvaged parts. The drones looked like his ship on scanners. The fighters chased the false signals, wasting time and fuel. While they hunted ghosts, Minyu hunted them. He used his small, maneuverable ship to strike from unexpected angles. A quick burst of plasma fire would disable a fighter's engines. Then he would disappear into the asteroids before the others could respond. One by one, the fighters fell. Watched her forces being picked apart and felt something she hadn't felt in years: doubt. This human was different. He didn't fight with honor or glory. He fought with cold efficiency, like a predator. "All ships converge on Sector 7, she ordered. "We'll overwhelm him with numbers." But when her ships gathered in Sector 7, Minyu wasn't there. He was behind them, targeting their weakest ship. He fired on the engines, crippling it. The ship drifted helplessly while the others scrambled to respond. "Enough games," snarled. She broadcast on all channels. "Minyu, face me directly, or are you too afraid? Or are humans nothing but cowards who hide and strike from shadows?" Minyu's voice came back, calm and steady. "I'm not afraid, I'm efficient, but if you want a fight I'll give you one, just you and me, on asteroid Theta 9 Delta. No ships, no backup, just 2 hunters." Smiled, agreed, "Let's end this." They met on the surface of a large asteroid, standing on opposite sides of a flat plain of rock and ice. The vacuum of space surrounded them, but their suits kept them alive. Was massive, over 7 feet tall, with cybernetic enhancements that made her stronger and faster than any natural being. Her armor was thick, and her weapons were powerful. Minyu stood across from her in his armor, looking small by comparison. But he held his plasma rifle steady, and his eyes showed no fear. "You've caused my empire considerable embarrassment," said. "I'm going to enjoy killing you slowly." "You talk too much," Minyu replied. Charged, she was incredibly fast, crossing the distance in seconds. Her blade swung at Minyu's head with enough force to cut through steel. Minyu ducked and rolled, firing his rifle at her legs. The shots hit her armor but didn't penetrate. They fought across the asteroid's surface, had raw power and combat experience. Every strike she made could kill if it connected. But Minyu had something more important: adaptability. He studied her movements as they fought. He noticed that her cybernetic left arm moved slightly slower than her right. He saw that she favored direct attacks over defensive moves. She was used to overwhelming opponents with strength. So Minyu stopped trying to match her strength. He targeted her weak points. When she charged, he moved sideways and struck at her slower left side. When she raised her weapon, he went low and targeted her knee joints. He turned the fight into a puzzle, finding solutions with every exchange. Grew frustrated, Stand still and fight like a warrior." "I'm not a warrior," Minyu said, dodging another strike. "I'm a hunter, and you're my prey." He saw his opening, overextended on a powerful swing, leaving her side exposed for just a moment. Minyu fired 3 quick shots at the same spot on her armor. The first 2 weakened it. The third punched through, stumbled, wounded but not defeated. She dropped her blade and charged bare-handed, cybernetic fingers reaching for Minyu's throat. He let her come close, then activated a device on his belt. An electromagnetic pulse burst from his armor, frying cybernetics. Her enhanced strength vanished instantly. They grappled on the asteroid's surface, and now they were equals. No enhancements, no tricks, just 2 fighters struggling for survival. Minyu's months of training paid off. He was leaner, faster, more efficient. He got behind and locked her in a chokehold. "Yield," he said quietly. Struggled, but her strength was fading. Finally, she tapped his arm, the signal of surrender. Minyu released her and stepped back. He picked up his rifle and aimed it at her head. The entire galaxy was watching through hacked camera feeds. This was the moment that would define everything. "Your empire sent you to kill me," Minyu said. "To make an example, but here's what I want you to tell them instead." He lowered his weapon. "Humanity doesn't want endless war. We just want to live in peace, but if you force us to fight, we will, and we'll win. Not because we're stronger, but because we're smarter. We adapt, we survive, we hunt." He extended his hand to help up. She stared at him in shock. "You're sparing me." "I'm showing you mercy," Minyu said. "Something your empire forgot how to do. Go back to your empress. Tell her what happened here. Tell her that humans are not prey." Took his hand and stood. She looked at Minyu with new understanding. "You could have killed me." "Yes, but what would that prove? That I can kill. Your empire knows that now. What they need to learn is that we can also choose not to. That's what makes us different." The message was heard across the galaxy. Within weeks, the Empire agreed to a ceasefire. They recognized human territories and released all human prisoners. Other species that had been oppressed took notice. If humans could stand up to them, maybe they could too. Minyu returned to human space quietly. He refused medals and celebrations. He just wanted to see his sister. He found at a medical station, helping former slaves recover from their trauma. When she saw him, she ran and hugged him tight. "You did it. You saved us all." "No," Minyu said softly. "We saved ourselves. I just showed people it was possible." Opened a training academy based on methods, teaching humans how to think like hunters. Became an ambassador between species, working to prevent future conflicts. And slowly, the galaxy learned to respect humanity not through fear, but through understanding. Minyu stood on the bridge of the wandering star, looking out at the stars. Keeper Seven's voice echoed in his neural implant one last time. "You honored the legacy, human. You proved that the strongest weapon isn't strength. It's the will to survive and the wisdom to show mercy. The galaxy needed that lesson. Thank you." "Thank you for teaching me," Minyu replied. He set course for home, ready to rest. The hunt was over. Humanity had its place among the stars, and the legend of the hunter would be remembered forever.